There we go. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to see if anyone just personally that is for sure involved in the teacher training, just to get that right out into the open, if anyone has any specific questions that weren't clear to you at all um, on the website. Do any of you three have any questions? Is there anything that like comes
I
to make sure you asked me?
I think over the last week or so, y'all have kind of answered everything. You know, my main thing was if it was going to be recorded in case something happened. So, and if the studio opens up, can we go in the studio and do it there? Will that be an option too, or is it only going to be virtual?
I think this first one, we want to try one that's just purely virtual. But if we are
Okay.
able to get into contact with one another, according to the laws of Louisiana, I definitely want to have times where we do meet and integrate, not as a part of the teacher training, but more as a satsang, so that if there is
Okay.
anyone coming from out of state, and there actually are a few people considering, there's a few people from Europe considering, and also on the East Coast. So it's almost like I had to make one decision of like, okay, either full on in and online and on Zoom so that no one misses out, or wait and when we're able to open, make it more localized so that we can all come together again locally. So I think I thought of that. And so what I'm going to do is anyone that is in the local area, we'll do songs every once in a while when we're able to come together, because community is such an important part of a teacher training. And that's, been
Hmm.
my big concern with doing something live and on Zoom. So I tried one thing. I did a Reiki one on Zoom, which KP, you've done Reiki, right? And I'm thinking, how is this going to work? I'm not sure, but I want to then really study Zoom and see what Zoom is like and what the possibilities are with it. And then I got feedback from them afterwards, and me myself, because the teachings are so universal and so intimate and so deep, to me it didn't feel any less than or insignificant because we were not in the same room. I still felt energy moving. I still felt the teachings. I could still feel when they were not understanding something and when they were. We could see everybody, so that was helpful. But also there was just a depth to the teachings that has withstood the test of time that I was astounded by how well it actually went. And I asked all of them, and they were actually incredibly grateful because a lot of the time they could just be in the comfort of their home and they could get whatever they needed. They didn't have to leave, they didn't have to commute. And many of them were from different states as well. And it helped me to realize that it's kind of like these trainings could go two very different ways. And so I wanted to try one that was super specifically about you saving as much time and energy as you can, not traveling as much, reducing more, and making your life as simple as possible as part of the teaching of this teacher training. Where right now, to me, this the global awakening that we're in, to me, this is the teaching, and I'm also kind of even honestly concerned about everyone jumping so quickly back into everything when I feel like there's so much to learn right now about reduction, about simplicity, and moving around less. That I want us to feel the energy of that and what that's like, so that we can focus more. We're less influenced by things on the exterior. We're less pulled out by the distractions of what can be fun, but socializing and moving around and going out, but to actually treat this as a really sacred life retreat time, which teacher trainings have always felt like that, but also we're often very much consumed by all of our responsibilities and all the choices that we have on the outside. So I deeply meditated on it, and I was thinking, let's try one that feels like a retreat in the way that we could perceive this quarantine to be, if we so choose, and not feeling necessarily that it is less than, but actually that it's going to be unbelievably deep, because we're going to treat this as a life altering experience. And we'll see how you feel about it. But once we did our Reiki
Mhm.
training, that was their feedback, that they were surprised. They actually liked it. They got in really deep because they could so deeply focus in on their own experience. But still, we also had very specific time for comments on the sides. They can be private or public. I can see it only if you want your question to be anonymous, which is kind of cool, because in teacher trainings,
Mhm.
sometimes I think people hold back some of their questions because they might feel self-conscious and not knowing the answer, so they just don't ask. And then also there's also can be a lot of disruption with tons of questions vocally. And so the topics can get pretty sidetracked. And with the comments on the side, or with the ability for someone, like they raise their hand or they push the raise the hand button, it's like we can get through some really deep teachings and then have very specific times where we go through comments, questions. And to me, there's a quality that I realized, that it can be incredibly efficient and economy of time, and respecting everyone's personal experience. And that's what Reiki 1 ended up being. And I think there's a way to make this incredibly deep because of the efficiency of this that could take place. So I do want to try one that is just really for this internal experience. Yeah, but this is what the theme of this truly will be. Yeah, so
Okay.
thank you for asking that.
Mhm.
Next year, this will be the only teacher training this year. And
Mhm.
this year is a wild frickin' year. Right?
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
thinking maybe I should just wait to do a teacher training. And I meditated on it, meditated on it. I was like, why? This is the most important time to do something incredibly positive and to gain access to the personal teachings. Because now, hopefully, because of less distraction, you're going to feel their effects far more. And I feel like most of us need more access to this, not less. And so, although it's a
Mhm.
wild time, um, for me, whenever I do yoga now, I feel like one class was like 20 classes. Like, so much happened in one class. And one freaking day, I'm sure y'all can relate to this, feels like a year sometimes, with how much emotion and what it is you're processing. And then if you're paying attention to the news, um, the amount that you're going to process right now because of the global time that we're in, to me, is going to like amp up quite a few degrees. And that's why I chose to still go with this during me. I see this more as a window of opportunity to not
Mhm.
wait. Like maybe later we're going to all get caught up in our busyness again. And maybe not all humans are going to get the teachings of what's happening right now. Right now, we're all still a little bit slightly maybe unstable and unsure. And so we need these teachings. And I think this is the perfect time to activate them within us for that reason. So I'm so happy y'all are on board for this wild ride in this wild time.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I've been waiting since last summer because they've been pushed back. I would be so sad if you pushed this one back.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I love hearing that. Yeah, there's that too. For me, also, it's This is the 12th year we've done it, and it's huge, colossal shifts of transformation in my own personal life as being a part of this experience every year. And I couldn't imagine during already so much transformation for some reason thinking that it would be better to skip a year because of the unpredictability of the uncertainty that we're in. To me, to have familiar faces and to have some preservation of tradition, and tradition, I mean like thousands of year old tradition that we're steeping ourselves in, a firm foundation is so grounding on the inside when we all connect to something that's been going on for thousands of years. And to me, yoga is a tradition. And I traveled to Asia, to the East, to Indonesia, to China, to Hong Kong, to Japan, to India. And tradition is deeply respected. And to allow for tradition to be preserved, I was just in Indonesia, and to them, preserving tradition is one of their main goals. And to me, it's a very important responsibility to uphold tradition while also respecting what situation we're in right now, modernizing the tradition and allowing it to continue to evolve, but to not be afraid of still participating in the tradition that we're all steeped in if we're calling it yoga. And so that's why for me it was so important to go to Asia and to go to these places to make sure I understand the tradition that I'm continuing to also be a part of and passing on. And to me, that tradition is what familiarity is. Like we're coming home into ourselves. And at some point, it's even beyond a culture, it's beyond a very specific geography or background or a very specific ideology or language. But also, I don't want to whitewash any of this either. I want to make sure that I'm respecting the tradition in which is being presented. So the familiarity of this that we're steeping ourselves in right now, it's to activate you getting in touch with the home within yourself. And to that, then in the end, to the teachings that you're hearing, they might start to sound familiar to you, like, oh, that resonates. Some like that's striking into me in some deep sense of truth within me is unfolding itself. But really, also, my prayer is in the way that this is presented is that it's really important that also you don't believe anything any of us tell you. You actually sit with yourself enough to honor and respect being your own personal guide in this, really, and that you, in the end, question all of it. You analyze all of it. You absolutely apply critical thinking. And that is what is going to be the pathway into you hearing your inner teacher more consistently during such a time that could also be a roller coaster. It could be filled with so much struggle. So to me, it's the familiarity, the lectures, the practices. It's getting you to go deeper, deeper, deeper into the essence of you. That's one of the biggest goals for me and for the faculty is that we're all on the same level. We're all in this human experience together. It's a wild ride right now. We're going to have human struggles arise during this. But if you can gain more access to a place that's clear within you more consistently, that to me is the purpose. And if any of the tools, if some of them work, that is success. Might not all resonate with you. Some things will resonate with you more than other things, according to what it is that we need. But you gaining access to owning up to the accountability of being your own teacher really is what this is all about, right? So for that reason, that is why I couldn't skip a year. I'm like, skip a year on people gaining tools to access their higher self and their truth and their center more consistently. There's no way that I'm going to deny that. It's like the most important priority for all of us right now. Or really it should be. It needs to be. Because this is a wake up call. So I think the fertile ground that we're in is gonna make this like roar with a lot of deep awakening on a level that we haven't ever experienced before. I'm kind of excited about it for that very specific reason and how raw it kind of all is, how mysterious it is right now. Yeah. Any more questions from you personally?
Question.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so like with alignment, how will we know if we're correctly aligned and doing it the way we should be?
Yeah, that's a good question because you mean it's on online?
Right.
Well, we're getting this camera that we're experimenting with now that Hyan's been training us in, actually, speaking of Hyan, to where when you tap on it, the camera zooms in on either me or whoever's showing the alignment. And then we're getting a large screen that the size of you for each of you will like you'll be about this big each instead of like right now you're each about like an inch big on my computer. Soon you're each going to be like a foot big. And on the big screen we're going to have, and we do this so that we can see you really clearly, and that when we see you misaligning, which is going to be far more clear because this is important that we're able to see you. And if you're doing it in a way that is not safe, we're then going to show you, we're going to mirror you and what you're doing. And we're going to tap on our 3-pod cam camera, and it will like highlight my knee. And I'll be like, this is what I mean by that. And I'll show you what you're doing. It's going to be a little bit more high tech than the Zooming that we've been doing with the regular classes. We don't expect all of our teachers to get these high quality cameras, but it's going to be a little bit of a different tech setup with the lighting and with our ability to see you and with your ability to then focus in on a very specific anatomical body part so that you can see what it is that we mean. And then we're going to make you do it, and we're going to wait until we see you do it, and then we're going to go, that's it. Now you have it. Because really, there can be no hands-on assist, and there probably won't be able to be a hands-on assist for a long time, is going to be my assumption. And yoga therapeutics often was like us working and doubling up and doing sort of isometric work with one another. So we're going to have to be like your body double in that way. You're going to have to be able to really see very closely super specific anatomical body parts for that reason. So yeah, we've been studying that and working on that to get that dialed in. And then our anatomy teacher, his is more applied anatomy. It's not necessarily specifically alignment, but he's been working with getting all of his the documents and everything visible so that it would be like a live screen that you can see of his, so that he can point to things and point to body parts that you also will see. So we're all adjusting the way in which we're teaching a little bit so that it doesn't feel so two-dimensional. And that's going to be a creative process, and this is our first go round at it. And that's all honestly why it's also a lower price. And along with, we want it to be accessible during the pandemic, but we're going to be learning what works, and we're going to be getting feedback from you along the way as well.
I have a couple more questions. I didn't read anything online because I haven't had a chance to. I've been so busy.
Okay.
Andrea actually sent me the email saying that y'all were doing this. Um, so I wouldn't miss it. So the literature and all of the studying, the things that we need to do, is that going to be online, or are we going to have books mailed to us? How is that going to work?
You're going to get a PDF file of the teacher training manuals sent to you as an attachment.
Okay.
Also, you can do share screens on Zoom, where if there's something really specific that I want to talk about, and just so you can also read it, there'll be like a small version of me over to the side or whoever's speaking. And then the larger screen will be the share screen of the page, which we're
Okay.
talking about. If there's specific things that we need you to read or to see, or words that are unusual. And you'll also have it on your computer. So you can do your own like share screen to where you see the manual and you see Zoom on your own computer. But that's what we have planned so far. And that's what I've been
Okay.
getting taught how to do, because I've never done any of that. I've never done the share screen or the private.
Mhm.
You can break off into groups and someone can be speaking over here, and over here is like two subgroups, and then we can come back together and have a shared group discussion as well. So there's some possibilities with Zoom that I really had no idea about. It's basically meant for conferences. It's meant for what it is that we're doing, more about lectures and larger groups of people in lectures, more than it was originally for like fitness or music, which they're trying to adapt to. Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Do you have questions about like the books specifically and things like that?
Which books? Like I know that there's a plethora of books that we will have to read. Am I correct? Besides the teacher
There's
manual?
the three.
There's
Three?
two. Yeah, for the 200, there's three. That's right. You got it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the three, let's see, I have it written down. One of them was incorrect because I looked at it today. Yeah, and yeah, it got changed. Deb changed it. So it's the Jivamukti book by Sharon Gannon and David um, The Path to Holistic Health by BKS Iyengar,
Okay.
and Paths to God by Ram Dass. Three books. And you could, especially the Paths to God, I would say you could also do that as an audio. I listen to books all the time. So that one specifically, Ram Dass, it's more so that you gain access to the understanding of where our lineage began. And Ram Dass was my very first yoga teacher, and I met him before he had his stroke. Met him like, geez, like 28 years ago. And so to me, it's just really important that you have an understanding of the background and history of what this whole yoga practice the way it will be presented to you and what some of your influences are. And that's also primarily why the Jiva Mukti book is there as well. The Jiva Mukti book has the listings of they're called margas. And margas are the paths of yoga. Like we make sure to talk about meditation. We make sure to talk about the yoga of sound, which is Nada yoga, the path of service and devotion, which is bhakti yoga. And along with that, that we learn mantra and how to speak Sanskrit correctly so that we are not inappropriately speaking a language that would be disrespectful, but getting to know the true tradition and the background of what it is we'll be articulating. So there'll be the marga of asana and of alignment, and that's primarily from Kelly Haas because that's her focus, and she goes and studies that all of the time. So there'll be a lot of asana primarily from her, and then Keith will be speaking specifically about Dharma and about the Yoga Sutras quite a bit, so that you have a background also in philosophy. So I feel like that, it's a very well-rounded teacher training. It's just not quite as in depth as the 400 hour. It's shorter. It's 4.5 months instead of 7 months. And I feel like though we're going to get a lot in because when it's live on Zoom, I found even in the training I just taught, I had so much time because the lectures are just easier. They're more streamlined in which to present. But it would be a good idea to start reading some of the books now. And I would say start with Ram Dass because it's very inspirational and you can just listen to him again and then you'll get an understanding of who he is. He just left his body in December. So there's a lot more information about him now, even more than ever. A lot more people know who he is. But if you get a hold of those books and read them, that'll start you off well when we meet May 27th from 4 to 7. And you are right, also, Judy, that on the Zoom cloud, we can record everything that we do. And it stays in this Zoom cloud that you have access to for 24 hours.
Okay.
It just goes off the cloud. So it doesn't take up space in the Zoom cloud. So like if you can't always make specifically 4 to 7 on a Wednesday, what's kind of cool about that, which we didn't have the choice to before, maybe you can't get on until like 6. So you could see part of it, but you could still see exactly what it is that happened because it's still up and available to you for 24 hours live with all of the questions, with the visual of all of us together.
Yeah.
And that helps.
Okay.
People are doing this and one lives in Spain for time frame, but they can completely do it. They're just going to wake up and watch the recording and then send me questions. And then we also have a mentor that's going to help us, Laura Johanna. And Laura is who helps to run the Araby Center. And so we're going to have Laura as part of her mentorship. She's working with a few very full on and specifically. And she's also going to, as part of her mentorship, place a call to you or FaceTime, whichever one you want, to just see how you're doing to make it more personal, to have like a one-on-one conversation with someone, which is kind of like what we would do sometimes after class. Like we're hanging out or we see each other at Good Karma or in front of the studio, and so we can ask questions, and that's kind of not there any longer. So we're going to make sure that Laura calls you once a week and just says, how did that lecture go for you? Do you have any questions about anything?
Good.
Yeah, which is kind of sweet too, right? What else?
Can I say something?
Yes, please, Judy, go.
I have some back injuries. Do I let you know that, or every instructor, or just when we're doing alignment, or how do you want to handle that part?
Definitely, if you want to write me so I know about them now.
Okay.
Kelly Haas is the very specific person that's going to assist you so that you stay totally safe the whole time
Okay.
and very much according specifically to your body. So it's
I was lucky enough to take some of her classes before all of this craziness started. So not a lot, but yeah, I was excited. But,
she's online, and she has 4 classes online right now. But before we really all get going with asana, we definitely will be gathering like, what are your injuries? What are things we need to know about you so that we can all proceed with safety? Like it could be some very personal things that you need to let me know about as well. It's just so I'm honoring what it is you need from this experience. And on the very first day, we'll not as personal, but we'll present sort of what our sankalpa is, like our goal for why it is we're doing the teacher training. And that could be literally physical, like you want to heal your back, or it could be you want to get through this pandemic without going crazy, like whatever it is that we need, we're going to make sure that we are here to support one another, not just the faculty, but that we're all partially student, partially teacher now, supporting each other through this growth. Yeah, we'll absolutely be continuing to make sure you're safe.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can email me now very specifically so I know also.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
okay.
This all sounds so cool.
Yay, KP, you get to do it again.
I know, I'm so excited.
It's so beautiful, and every time it's so different. It'll be really interesting to see
I,
how it shifts you this time.
I think this is the perfect time to do a teacher training.
Oh my gosh, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we have self-study set up. Swadhyaya is self-study. I mean, there is so much reduction going on right now. This is the time to see how it is we're responding to everything. Now we have tools to respond from our center. Yeah. And to be accountable for them. Someone
Mhm.
will help you to be accountable. That's us. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything else?
Does it make a difference from your end if we're using a phone or a laptop?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say more so it depends on the quality of your device for sure. Like the most updated versions you have of everything, and if you do the updates, I've noticed that that does make a difference more than the phone, unless it's a phone that's really old kind of idea. But the updates have been making a big difference in everyone's quality. I will say that. But
Okay.
otherwise, phone or computer, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Update though. And also, I would say internet quality has made a big difference. And I got the best quality on my end because now I'm working from home. But if the person receiving doesn't have the best quality, it could still get a little bit disjointed sometimes. So we do like to tell our students that you're going to be online a little bit more. You just might consider that too.
Mm-hmm.
Or close to your modem. That's made a big difference too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
I have another question.
Yes.
Okay. Um, have y'all already, and I apologize if you've written this online, have y'all already thought about if students who are taking this 200 hour, if we want to roll into the 400 hour, how quickly will we be able to do that? I know it's a hard question considering the pandemic, but
No, I have thought of that because I was like, gosh, what do I do? Because I usually do two teacher trainings. So far the decision is because of all the uncertainty, just one simple. I think this year is supposed to be somewhat simple, and that's the theme of the year. That's part of the teaching of this whole thing. But then for next year, absolutely doing both 200 and 400, and whoever did the 200 can merge into what it is they missed and add 200 more hours if they really had their heart set on doing the 400 as part of their goal. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that with the Deb for sure. So it's something that you could look forward to if you want to continue. It would just be more like a continuing education, but still it would accrue as Yoga Alliance hours, if that matters.
but we can teach with 200, and I don't want to necessarily teach. It's something to incorporate into speech and language, so I would be able to do that, correct, with 200 hours.
Yeah, 200 hours with Yoga Alliance approval means that you are now considered eligible and qualified to teach most anywhere. The
Okay.
200 is the bare minimum requirement. Yes. And especially because of that, and like our studio, we don't necessarily like people, are you Yoga Alliance? We don't necessarily ask that. But places outside of yoga studios often ask that, or if they don't know you, they rely on Yoga Alliance accredited trainings. and this is. So you're good. Yeah, yeah. And it's after the training you contact Yoga Alliance also, and you are a part of their registration.
And do I need a special training for children?
There are special trainings, but this is a very general 200 hour. So it will,
Will I be able to take this and use it with children as well?
yeah, I think so. A lot of people have, especially if
Okay.
you're children and you know what to do. I don't know
Okay.
if I could. I
Well,
know.
there was supposed to be a children's training in December, and that got canceled too.
Got it. Yeah, that's like it's very specialized with unless you're just naturally you work well with children, you know. To me, I got confused by teaching children yoga. I'm like, oh my God, all they're doing is running around and screaming. I don't know what to do. Where's the training that shows me how to get them to stop doing that?
I want to take this. I want to take this into my speech language pathology practice, and incorporate it into therapy with children who have autism and ADHD. So when you're talking about the crazy running around, yes, that's what I want to do.
Oh, wow. I think
Yeah,
you
it's gonna be hard.
sure that's the training for that.
It's gonna be challenging. I need to rephrase that. It's gonna be challenging, not hard, challenging.
Absolutely.
Doable, challenging.
If you find this, you can do this.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I think that's the real training,
Mm-hmm.
really. You will be able to handle the rest.
Okay.
That's what your heart desires. Yeah. Everyone kind of has a different push and magnetism towards what um, their purpose is in this. Some of us is just general yoga teaching. Some of us is just a personal practice and a time to integrate uh, personal retreat. And some people they want to do it full time. Some people it's just like a to be a better parent, maybe teach once a week or better at whatever their trade is. So everyone has a different experience. Some go on to be even better vocalists and musicians because of this. You know, it's just so different for all of us. So we've kept this really general and not specialized because this is the foundation. The 200 is just foundation. You take it from there, and it's endless what you can learn. Yeah. That's why another reason why I love this world of yoga. It just is endless the way it can be studied. Yeah. Yay. So in general, you know, we meet Wednesdays 4 to 7. It's most ideal if you're there, of course, because it's just more personal. And I think the accountability of having interaction is really special right now, especially since there's less interaction in general with humans. Um, there's also 4 different weekends, and those 4 weekends are listed on the website. The first one's in June. I remember that. It's like the third weekend of June. Yeah, June 20th. Then there's one July 30th. It's kind of spread out evenly. August 20th, September 11th. 4 weekends that will more so than those are kind of like around either 8 to 12 hour kind of time frames for those. And we try to make it spacious so that it's steady so you can still live your life, you know. There'll be a little bits of homework here and there, and they'll be announced as we proceed each week. It's just kind of organic, some of it. And then there's a list of requirements of like reading, writing papers. I had selfless service down. We're going to have to get creative with that and how we could do that online for now because there's not tons of interacting we're supposed to be doing. There's a final exam. Let's see. There's a there's the final exam we did was actually together. So this final exam will be we're all still actually learning. And when it's all together, it helps us to even study more as well. So I've been doing things less written and less isolated. Some of the homework is more homework we do together. And I want to make sure that we're doing that as we're online as well, since we're isolated a bit already as it is. But really, the main goal of this is satsang. It's community. And I will say that still it's community that's gotten me through all of this so far, along with doing my personal yoga practice. And so this will help you to stay accountable to you doing your yoga practice, because you're required to do 2 classes a week. And that we can see if you've been doing them or not, because it's listed online who's doing which classes. And it's just having something and someone that you're accountable to. Although in the end, it's really just you being accountable to yourself, truly. And then this whole time, it will become clear to you why it is you're doing this ultimately in the end. Good, y'all? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited.
Yay! Me too. I think this is good for now because that's a lot of talking. I always try to be careful with too much lecture and too much talking. But everything else is written online. I'm going to be writing a welcome letter, maybe a good 4 or 5 days before teacher training begins. There's still people considering, so I'm going to be sending that letter out soon. And we're going to be doing our own research about Zoom until then as well, meeting with Kelly this weekend to get things even more professional and super dialed in. Until then, if you have very personal goals or have very personal physical concerns, please do email me, and I will be sharing those with Kelly too when it does apply to her.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll
Yay!
send an email when we hang up.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Michelle.
Oh, thank you
Thank
all for
you.
joining.
Thank you.
You, everybody. And I can't wait to continue learning together and going into this deep, rich journey together. Yeah, it's going to be a big year. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Good
See
night.
if you need anything. Namaste.
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 Bye. Have a beautiful evening.
Bye.
Bye.